Alright guys, here we are for episode 18, season 2 of the Twilight Zone. Alright, so this episode I enjoyed. I had one major problem with it, I think.
One?
Just one major episode. One major issue.
I had an episode in the middle of this episode.
Like, clearly there's an issue with, like, let's just reverse what we did a couple times and end up, like, trying again. Like, that's obviously, like,
right.
Like, if you're allowing the suspension of disbelief that it happened in the first place, I think you can be okay with that. The fact they can maybe replicate that scenario.
No, like,
it does seem 1 in a million, but I wasn't a problem with that. My
As
problem was that they were looked out the window and, like, were face-to-face with a dinosaur that was going slow as fuck, and none of the passengers saw it. They had to break it to them later. I'm like, their job is look out the window constantly.
Your job as a passenger of a plane is look out the window. I like that.
And then, like,
it's
when they cut to, like, the next view, so it's, like, this view, and it's, like, dinosaur, like, right here, and the next view, like, they're, like, you know, like, it would be like, oh, is that a cornfield? Like, it was, like, such a different view. That, like, how low were you as a plane that you can see that?
Yeah, and even, like, the shot of like, New York was really low. You could tell they're just using, like, stock footage.
Of course.
Like, things here or whatever. It's fine. Like,
they didn't have drones.
I would describe everything as being, like, light or something like that. Right? They weren't like, we need to get footage from planes of different places and work it in seamlessly, right? We need to have a hot shot of a dude going, you know, pulling his face away from the window, but then the camera goes out the window and we see all the, like pterodactyls and volcanoes and shit, right?
Would that not have made so much more sense, a pterodactyl rather than a brontosaurus? You're like,
100%. No, like so much would have made so much sense.
But that was probably already made from something else or something, and they're like, we could use that footage.
They literally just filmed them, like, in the cockpit, and then, like, we're like, okay, like, you see something, just pretend you're like, dear God, and he goes, dear God, and they're okay, and then we just...
Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Quick!
We need something to cut
and then,
to,
like, 5 seconds of slow look.
Yeah, even, like, the whole thing of, like, well, that's Staten Island there, but there's no buildings or whatever, and you're just like, okay, you're not going to show it, I guess, that's fine. Describe it in great detail for me, please.
I thought there could have been a great opportunity for, like, a matte painting type of thing, like, because they've done that before.
I guess, really. Like, more and more, it seems like this show is just, like, on the cheap.
But if we're going to go with actual issues with the thing, like, all right, so you're saying, like, 65 million years ago, what? It looked this, you could tell what was what? Like, aren't things, like, separating and pushing and, like, land masses are different?
No,
like, things are underwater? Like, you couldn't tell that that's New York.
Yeah, I guess that is a complaint. I would lump that in with the whole thing of, like, this is light storytelling shit, like... Because, like, you wouldn't be able to see stuff, you wouldn't be able to know, like, going
in the 60s, though, didn't they know that already? I thought that was common knowledge for quite some time.
Yes, but I think they also knew that you couldn't travel back in time by breaking the speed of sound, and you couldn't...
We don't know that. Cause
no one's ever done it, Lee. Satellites aren't real. No one's ever broken the sound barrier.
Well, I don't think it was just breaking the sound barrier. It was the fact that, like, the Earth was moving on a weird kilter. They were flying through, you know, something.
Some slipstream fucking technology.
I thought that was a very cool angle, though, that, well, we're going... What if the wings come off? Well, the airspeed's the same. It's just the ground that's zipping around. Like you know, Superman was, at that moment, running around the Earth to save Lois Lane.
That's the only explanation.
And they were in the air, so they didn't get taken back in time. That actually would be amazing. That would be a good storyline for a Superman comic. But
I actually would like that. No, that was the idea. Was that something was like... There was like a wave, if you will, like pushing them along.
Yeah.
Going really fast, which apparently makes you time travel. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was the part where I was like, what?
Again, that part, I wasn't like, what? It was just the little things, like, you know, the devil's in the details, as they say, where, like, it's like, all right, so, like, the angle, like, again, if it would have been like any flying type of a dinosaur, I'd have been like, yep, makes perfect sense. I'm fine with this. It was that angle, what you saw that I didn't like, the idea that no one in the back, like...
Yeah, it was
because they set up that there's going to be something in the back. Like, one of the passengers like, do you feel that? It's like we're going fast or something. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, he should have been looking. Like, he was like an admiral or some stupid shit.
The British, like, attaché to the whatever things, right? Do they, like, they just drop him, right? And you
never see him again. You never see that woman with him again.
No, I don't understand what that was. So something... That would be my complaint.
It may have been longer and cut because they say, like, they're climbing up the walls out there. Oh, my God.
Exactly. They're like, we have several passengers, like, going nuts or whatever. And they filmed the passenger cabin. It isn't like they're just talking about it and they never show it.
It would have been great if he was like, I saw a dinosaur. There's no buildings here. Where are we? This isn't the New York I've been to.
If he had gone up into the cockpit and been like, now, sir, I know something's going on, and I think that I can help, and they had like a fucking conversation or whatever, that might have made sense. That was really weird. That's my main complaint, is that this is like a mess. This is like not good.
What's almost a bigger complaint, as I now remember.
The old lady, right?
No.
What? Who bids on a liver? That's insane.
Was the navigator's name Magellan, or were they ironically calling him Magellan?
Galileo,
whatever.
No,
it was Magellan.
I was joking. I have no idea what you're talking about.
They kept calling him Magellan. Magellan, plot the course for the blah blah. Magellan, like, and I was like, are they saying that because like that's a thing, or is his name Magellan? And like, I don't know why that's such a big issue for me, but it is.
Oh, I was gonna say. So if so, I didn't pick that up. I watched with subtitles. I didn't notice any goofy names.
Maybe the subtitle guy was like, "Nah, we ain't doing this stupid shit. We'll call him Mark."
Can't possibly be Magellan. I don't know if his name was Magellan. If it was, I guess.
If it wasn't Magellan, it was some other name like that, like
Gary.
an explorer, blah blah. Like when you said Galileo, I was like, oh, maybe I was fucking wrong. Maybe it was Galileo.
I made that up.
Either way, I was like, eh. But this episode was good. I enjoy seeing like what a 1960s plane cockpit looks like. I'm like, it's just chairs. Like the guy's in like a rolly chair. It's like on there.
Chairs. No, that's just because of that's what it looks like in like the studio.
I believe that could have been what it looked like.
We just shove a bunch of chairs together. It was very cramped, right?
I think it would be cramped.
Yeah.
It did look crampter than the actual, like, the center of the plane, but that makes sense because it comes to like a point, like there's shit happening there. Yeah.
No, I take all of my cockpit information from airplane. That's my
source.
Source. And that's one of my high points is that the captain had like a Leslie Nielsen, Robert Stacky kind of vibe.
He had a great voice.
Had a great delivery. Had a very smooth like whatever. Where I was like,
when the guy from the 30s is talking on the radio and he's like, radar, we don't know that, blah, 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 and he's like, give me that. Now listen, we're at a cruising altitude of 95. We have only this much gas left. We need. I'm like, oh, listen to that man. Invent radar, you fuck.
And now you're gonna have to invent radar before we approach. You'd be like, all right.
So let me pose a question.
Oh shit.
If we're in a plane, right?
Uh-huh.
We're flying said plane.
Uh-huh.
And
we're the pilots.
We're the pilots in this scenario.
Ooh.
It's 2018, and we're flying this plane.
I have to put myself into a 2018 mindset.
And now we have an issue, and we're somehow going to land potentially 30 years earlier.
Yeah.
So you're like, huh, I can see myself like when I was a baby. Do you try to save it and like risk going back in time again and seeing dinosaurs or the future or just running out of fuel and dying, or land 30 years in the past?
So I would have been like, okay, how much fuel have we used from jump 1 to jump 2, and then from jump 2 to now? How many more times could we try this? Mm-hmm. I would use math.
But the fact that there was no okay, go a little higher, and that made us go forward, or go a little lower, that made us go backward.
We don't know
There's
yet.
nothing that
we've only tried each direction one way. We're not sure what the rules are. We have to learn.
But I don't think there's enough.
Each time we could risk our lives and die. Right?
If I'm not mistaken, they went from 75 tons of fuel or 100 pounds of fuel, or whatever, to 49 off the first jump.
I remember 49. I don't remember any numbers before that.
So I don't know how much it requires to land, because I know it's a jet, so they had reverse thrust then, I imagine. So you need to.
You thrust up and it pushes you down to the ground like a pancake.
Yeah. Well, I meant when you're pulling into the runway, aren't they firing backward to slow down?
I have no idea. I'm joking.
I don't know actually. But would you go 30 years in the past?
I would love to go 30 years into the past. I would have landed in like the dinosaurs.
You'd die immediately then.
That'd be great. Yeah, we'd all die. There'd be dudes with like their suits and like their ties wrapped around their heads, like knocking rocks against things, trying to survive. It'd be fun as fuck.
I think 30 years in the past would be almost ideal.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. I think I might actually prefer it. I'd be like, this is great.
As opposed to what?
Now.
Oh, I'm like, as opposed to dinosaurs, that's an easy choice.
No. Like, if you were like, hey, 30 years in the past right now, I'd be like, let's do this.
Yeah, what's 30 years ago? The 90s. You love the 90s.
I love the 90s.
That's your favorite.
Just sit here and thrive.
Right? Imagine being us, but in the 90s. That would be perfect. We could invent YouTube.
Yeah.
Or
at least become the top people on it.
Or show up and be like, I have ideas for YouTube.
I have things and stuff.
You have to go back. Make websites, bro. I did not like the ending of this episode.
No, because it was not a ending.
If you see a thing up there, it might be.
If you hear the buzz,
just might be
of a 747.
Fucking lost plane searching for home. And you're like, what?
For how long? This took place in 1960. I guess because they're traveling time, I could at any time see them.
Technically, yes, but that's even worse. like the minute it started, I wrote down, is this some Langoliers type shit or whatever? And like it totally kind of is.
Kind of.
This idea of like, I think that, and like that's my main, like, you know, if I had to get snooty about it, that's my main interesting part here, is that like there was a time where like planes even by themselves, or even like jets and radar and like the sound barrier, this all had some sort of like mysticism to it.
Yes, yes.
Whereas now, from like the time you're like a little kid, you're watching movies about space and you're watching shit and you're like, yeah, whatever, everything's fine, yeah. Mach 1, Mach 2, Mach 3, or whatever. I was like Googling, what is a knot and all that stuff. It's a nautical mile, which is 6,000 feet instead of 5,200 feet. So basically, when he says 1,200 knots, it's like whatever, 1,300 miles or something. It's like very close, miles per hour, knots or whatever. Anyway, this like is quaint. It's nice. It harkens back to it. Like before this time, we thought that if you went a certain speed in like a car, your face would peel off and like your bones would break or some shit like that.
Are you saying that's
not
true?
Figure it out or whatever. I'm saying that this is interesting and like nice. It's like quaint again to me to look back and for them to think that like the sound barrier was like ooh, you know.
Yeah, it's fun to see how much we've actually come. It's not been that long.
Right,
you know, this was the 60s.
In a relatively short period of time. Now we're just like, I don't know, can we just grow like a fake baby in like a tube? Can we just genetically like insert stuff?
Can I grow organs on the outside of my body to replace other ones?
And fucking space things, satellites, if you believe that. But yeah.
This is a time where it was actually about belief. Do you believe that?
If you believe that.
Yeah, that was a good episode, though. I thought the
captain's performance,
the acting carried the plot was a little simple.
People, yeah.
It loosely danced around things, but I enjoyed their talk. I thought all the characters looked like I'm like, nah, these look like a weird like group of people that I'm like, yeah, this would be a pilot. Like, let that guy.
And the head stewardess and like their interaction was.
They dropped
good
their thing too. I feel like they had a lot more going on. Like this episode seemed like it was longer. Like this might have been like, nah, we were making a movie and we lost our funding, so we cut it together and made it a Twilight Zone episode.
That might be how these things fucking work. That would be really interesting. That I would love to watch like a documentary about how some of these episodes came to be, whether it was a recovered screenplay or they even just well we have some footage. What can we do with this? We can cut to dinosaurs or whatever,
sure,
and make it into a thing. Yeah, I don't know, because that's the whole thing, right? This when I described it as like light, that's what I meant. Is like there's some thrown together shit, but it's really just to get you to the point where they go, oh god, we're not in the right time, you know?
Yeah.
And that like again, like the pillars of the Twilight Zone. There's like the mindfuck pillar where you're like, I imagine someone was like, yeah, so what if you like accidentally traveled back in time and then you were able to like do the same thing in like reverse, but like you misshot it? Like why would it be exact, right? You'd probably be like a little off, which in the grand scheme of things could be like 100 years, so
or
like,
more.
Yeah, so like you know, if you have all of history to like do, and like a natural phenomena doesn't have like exact endpoints. That, you know, if you like built a portal and you had like your own control over the time. So especially this way, where like you're slipstreaming into a weird astrological phenomenon that like carries the plane through time instead of space or whatever.
And we've had roughly this amount of time happen in a plane before. We had that guy who was what was he? He was a World War II pilot that got sent to.
No, exactly, right? So there was like a mindset back then. They're like, I don't know, you go up there and things happen, we can't explain them or something like that. It's cool.
The Bermuda Triangle was the biggest mystery.
Is that still a mystery at all?
It's a triangle.
It's still a triangle?
Yeah. I think as people have better instruments, things are not as dangerous.
That kind of quietly, went away though. Where's like the expose about we finally, explained the entire.
I think it was aggressive tides and coral. They're like, oh my god, it's unbeatable.
Oh, it swallows things whole. There's dimensional portals and rifts, and it was really just rough seas. That's very depressing. I heard all these theories about like there were weird like jetty things or whatever you call them, where like the water was oxygenated and that lowered its like buoyancy or density, and ships could like just sink into it and all that stuff.
That would be interesting.
But if it's just fucking coral, I'm out.
I always like the idea of just a foggy island where anything exists there.
It's a brigadoon.
Oh.
Whereas now it's just like satellite enhanced.
Let's look.
We know the exact topography of the island.
Yeah.
As we as people, you and I, and as the human race ages, all mystery and mysticism is lost. That's very sad.
Yeah, there's no adventurers anymore.
There's nothing to
Wanted
explore.
to be an Indiana Jones so bad as a kid, and I'm like, there's none of that.
Right? You want to find some old temple where you turn a thing somehow, and the thing slides open somehow, and go, and the dust falls, and you're just like, how is this working? I love it. And then walk in and get hit by an arrow that's somehow still loaded to a thing. Oh, it's the best.
All right, guys, that's ballpark this episode of the Twilight Zone. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die to fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.